Good afternoon. Today is March 27th. It is 1:16, and I am calling the Board Development Committee meeting to order. Ms. Harrison, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair, excuse me. Representing Educational District 2, Ms. Aretta Bowden.
Present.
Representing Educational District 3, Dr. Ken Zeff.
Present.
Representing Educational District at Large, Seat 9, Ms. Jessica Johnson.
Present.
Also present, we have Board Member Cynthia Briscoe Brown, who's not on the committee, as well as Toten Pace. Also present, we have Madam General Counsel Nina Gupta. I'm sorry. I am so sorry I have you here. And also, we also have Ms. Katie Howard present as well, who's not on the committee.
Excellent. Thank you, and thank you all for participating and being present. I will now entertain a motion to approve the December 19th, 2024 Board Development Meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Board Member Johnson and seconded by Board Member Zeff. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Before we move to approve the agenda for today, I want to remove from discussion items, letter D. I want to remove that from the agenda. So with that change, is there a motion to approve the agenda for the March 27th Board Development Committee meeting?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. That was item E.
That was item E, board travel update, yes. Thank you.
Just for a point of clarification.
Okay, mine's in a different order. So you have, not this one, it's D, the training hours update, No, goodness, they're all in different order. Whichever letter board travel update is, that's the one I want to remove.
Yeah, I don't see that in Simply.
So it was in Assembly when it was originally posted, and so I just want to make sure that there's no confusion. It looks like it may have been updated, but so as the agenda is posted, it does not have board travel update. So we are okay?
Yes, but let's just go ahead and go through and make sure you want to discuss everything. I have strategic planning engagement update.
Correct.
I have board development committee policy update.
Yes.
Board self-evaluation discussion.
Yes.
Training hours update.
Yes.
And GSBA board recognitions discussion.
Yes.
That's it? Okay.
Okay, so we are all clear. So, as it has been read, is there a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. I would now like to give a quick update. As you all are aware, we are in the process of strategic planning. And this is a 3-phase approach that we are doing, and we are currently in phase 3. Believe it or not, we have moved through the first 2 phases. The first phase was led by the board, and it was around strategic direction, values, and goals. The second phase was led by administration, and it was around strategic development, focus, and priorities. And that last meeting was held on March 25th at Benjamin E. Mays. We will move into the third phase, which is strategic refinement, strategies, and initiatives, and that will kick off April 3rd at Harper Archer. So I invite everyone to be engaged, stay engaged, and lend us your voice. The next thing that we're going to do under this particular item is we have Ashley Paz on Zoom, and Ashley is going to take us through results from the first phase, which was the board engagement phase, the strategy, direction, values, and goals. So she's going to walk us through what we learned. Good afternoon, Ashley. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Committee Chair Baldwin, and to the rest of the Board Development Committee and guest board members. So I am excited to share with you all the summary of the engagement that you all have just had, the feedback that you received. And so before I jump into what the community actually said, I think I found that it's always a great way to start these conversations by giving board members who were present at these events opportunities to just share your experience with the community engagement. I'd like to just open the floor to any board members who joined these sessions and just share kind of a high level experience that you had, if there's anything that stood out to you in particular about the things that you heard or the way that you were able to engage with the community through this process.
Thank you for this opportunity. We have actually everyone on the dais today participated in multiple engagement sessions, and who would be the first to share their experience and what they've learned or what they want to uplift? Okay, Board Member Zeff.
There was good energy in the room. It was great to hear, to see people and feel like they were being listened to, and I thought the setup was appropriate because it brought an on-ramp into the conversation, so none of the tables were say. If I had a concern, it was that I wish the rooms could have been more crowded. Some were more crowded than others. I think the voices that we heard were authentic. I'm not sure if they were entirely representative. I have no reason to think that they weren't, but it was a more limited sample. But I thought the conversations were productive, and I thought the themes that Travis pulled through the AI tool were helpful.
Is there anyone else who would like to share?
Sure, I'll certainly echo Board Member Zeff's comments as well. I enjoyed the diversity of perspectives that were present. You saw parents, guardians, grandparents. You saw, some partner groups who were there of the district. So it was a little bit of everybody. Again, would have loved to have seen even more, but I think what we had was definitely a good representation. And then for me, it was somewhat heartwarming / nostalgic. As a student at Douglas High School, my senior year, I had the chance to participate in the Superintendent Strategic Planning Committee. And so remembering being at Lake Lanier and seeing, again, the diversity of stakeholders that were present, whether it was our school custodian, whether it was a principal, whether it was a community member, executive director from the district, kind of likening it back to that, to be able to see all of those parties be present and have the opportunity to participate, I thought was a win for both us and for the community. So thank you.
Excellent. Board Member Briscoe Brown.
Yeah, I want to say that I thought the format was very effective. It gave us a chance to hear from a wide variety of stakeholders. And while, like the others, I wish we had had just more physical bodies in the room sometimes, I think that we got a much wider range of opinions, ideas, comments that we sometimes do particularly in a structure where people are lining up to speak one by one. So I think that was very effective, and I think that what we got out of the meetings as well was more valuable.
Excellent. Thank you. I'll add my 2 cents. I want to say that I heard some really positive feedback from the community. And one of the things that they said was it felt different. And one of the things that felt different was seeing so many board members in the room. I don't think they were used to seeing us out in such large numbers. Here, yeah, we're here, but being out in the community, that was something that was raised and appreciated. There was a little frustration around a script, right? But I appreciated the script, and even more so, I appreciate how my colleagues took it on and made it their own, but still sticking to the script, and really appreciating the importance of everybody hearing the same thing and the value and the equity around that. The other thing that I thought was interesting, it's something really, really specific, but we heard it everywhere, and it wasn't just about college, it wasn't just about career, we just want a plan. And it's like we were kind of maybe complicating some things, but I just really enjoyed the experience. And while I too would have loved for more people to participate, I believe that we've set a really nice base. And the next time we do this, there's nowhere to go but up, right? So, anyone else have anything they want to add? Excellent. Okay, Ashley, the floor is back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your perspectives. And so, and thank you, Chair Baldwin, for lifting up what you heard across multiple events where the community said, this just feels different. It is, this style of doing community engagement is intended to be different. A lot of boards, kind of the traditional way of doing things is to have the people come to you. So expecting the community to come to the board and share what the community feels. That is, it can be frustrating for your community to have that, for that to only be the one experience that they have with how they engage with the board, not individual board members, but with the board. Because individual board members may have things that they do, the way that they engage with their individual districts, but giving your community the experience of interacting with multiple board members in that singular capacity that can create a space for true transformation in the way that the community is engaged in the work and the ownership that they see in the boardroom, the ownership of the work that they have, of the work that you all are doing. And so it can be very powerful when done well. And one of the things that was mentioned a couple of times is that maybe we didn't have the number of people who were engaged as you would like, but this is the first time y'all have done it like this. And as you said, there's only one way to go, that's up. But that's true. Like, and even if you had 5,000 people show up for these meetings, or 10,000 people show up at these meetings, it's still, I would still be encouraging you to think about ways to boost that the next time around. This is a continuous improvement process. So it is important to always be looking about how to level up the next time around. So with that, I'm going to share the high-level feedback. So the board had 5 different individual sessions. 2 of those were virtual and 3 of those were in person at North Atlanta, Hollis, and South Atlanta.
Can we share the document that you're looking at?
Yeah, I believe that
Okay, we're doing it on our end.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and talk while we get it together, though.
Okay, and I'll just share some high level details while we're getting it pulled up. So the board hosted 5 separate engagement opportunities. 2 were virtual and 3 were in person. And then you also had an online survey that you used to collect feedback from individuals, maybe people who had attended the in-person events and wanted to give additional feedback or provide some further context, or people who couldn't make it to the event in person. I see you pointing.
I'm trying to get it. Let's get board led at the top.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you.
All right. Can y'all see the document now?
Yes, we can. Oh. Yes, we can see it now. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And just so all of the board members know, I've shared it. So I sent this to all of the committee members, and I just forwarded it to board members Howard, Pace, and Briscoe Brown, since they're in the meeting as well. Okay, so I've detailed the number of events that you've had across those 5 events, and so across those 5 events, you had 275 individual people attend those meetings. In addition to those, the people who you had attend those meetings, you also received another 180 responses through the online survey. And so I have provided a table here that really it details it details what was heard through each of those unique experiences, whether it was an in-person meeting, an online, a virtual meeting, or through the survey. And so without any surprise, when it comes to the vision that your community has, there were 3 really common themes that came up. And when you're thinking about, did we have a representative sample of our community? The question, like always, we always want to have more people. But the question that I am thinking of as I am looking through this is, did we actually achieve a saturation in the data that we've gotten back? And I think that it's pretty clear these themes are very common. There was only one of those sessions where there was any kind of deviation. So literacy, math, and post-secondary readiness. Those were the 3 most common themes that you heard across the entire, all of the sessions. The only deviation that you had was with Hollis. And so at Hollis, an additional theme came up. So actually, you had more people who were interested in students having skills that were specific to their social emotional health. These would be things like belonging, grit, determination, self-advocacy, critical thinking, problem solving. There you really can run down a long list of the soft skills that people wanted students to have, but that all kind of falls under this umbrella of social emotional skills. So those were the most common themes in terms of the community's vision. When we think about values, we're really thinking about, so when we talk about vision, we're talking about things that are very specific to student outcomes, things that students know or are able to do. And then when we talk about values, we kind of open the door up a little bit. And we really want to hear from the community and understand what it is that we need to protect along the way. As a system, as we're pursuing improved student outcomes, what are the non-negotiables that we need to make sure that that are not lost in that pursuit? And so so every single one of these sessions was different in terms of the values that came up. But across the sessions, there were some common themes, and I'm not going to read through each of those individually, but they're there for everyone to see. I would say that the 2 most frequently mentioned items were related to high quality instruction, and really, that I would even narrow it. So you can expand out from that when you talk about, certified teachers, highly effective teachers. There's your high quality instruction, but also like the high quality instructional materials, the curriculum that is being used in the classroom. All of those were things that were mentioned that fall under what I would call the auspices of high quality instruction. And so the headline is that your community really does value students having access to research-based instructional strategies and the resources that are going to set them up for success, and really having that access regardless of where they go to school, what zip code they live in, what neighborhood they live in. I would say that in every single instance where this was mentioned, there was also mention of kind of having an equitable access to those resources. Which takes me to my the second most common theme. People did talk a lot about equity, so discipline equity and resource equity. And even in all of the other items that were mentioned, there was a strong undercurrent of equity that kind of undergirded each of those conversations. And the board will have access to, or actually you do have access, it's linked on this document, but there is all of the raw feedback that you've received through the entire survey. And then the district can provide access to, they actually have the audio recordings and those AI transcripts from each of those like in-person and virtual conversations. So before I have provided a more in-depth analysis of the feedback from the survey, because that's really the kind of the best data that we were able to receive. But before I jump into this, I just want to kind of open the floor and see if there are any observations or noticings that anyone has just up to this point. Does this seem aligned with the types of things that you all heard in those in-person sessions?
Looking at my colleagues' faces, I'm seeing some head nods, some thumbs up. We're good.
Okay. So again, and I'm not going to belabor this point, but I did provide kind of an overview of how many people from the survey actually like what were the highest frequency things that they had to mention. And so the way that the survey was written, the board chose to move forward with giving the community some options. And a lot of those options are based on the priorities that you currently have and things that you have learned along the way. So, this is pretty much perfectly in line with what you've already heard. Literacy, math, and post-secondary. So I think that there may have been like 3 responses on the entire survey from people who didn't mention literacy at all. Pretty much everyone else, had something to say about a need for literacy. There were similarly high percentage of people who were focused on numeracy and numerical reasoning, and then the post-secondary readiness as well. On the post-secondary readiness, these responses really fell into 2 different buckets. And so there was one that so one of those buckets was really focused on college, and people who their main thing was they want students to be ready for college after high school. And then there was another bucket where people said, yes, we want people to be ready for college, but we also want them to have other options. And I don't have the specifics, that specific breakdown on this document, but on the raw data, there are 2 tabs in that spreadsheet. So one of those tabs is just all of the raw data. And then the second tab is, I've actually provided a more in-depth analysis that describes, what that frequency was for each of those different types of feedback. And then I've also provided here some examples, just of some of the comments that you heard in those cluster meetings. You know, in the survey, you didn't really get a ton of additional comments related to the vision or the student outcomes, because most people were just checking the boxes: literacy, numeracy, post-secondary readiness. But during those in-person sessions, you got a little bit more context. And so when it came to both literacy and math, a lot of people did tend to expand. Like, we're not just talking about reading. We're not just talking about like arithmetic and multiplication. Like, when we talk about literacy, we really are, we really want students to be able to read, write. We want them to be able to think critically, you know, perform complex analysis, and have those comprehensive communication skills that are going to help them be successful in the workplace after they graduate. And then the same thing with numeracy. You know, there was a lot of discussion about you know, mathematics beyond just your basic like multiplication, algebra. Like, there really are, there was a lot of people who were able to connect the ability to perform math, to have those numerical reasoning skills with the connection to problem solving skills and critical thinking skills. And a lot of people made an additional connection to, you know, overall like STEAM or STEM or STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, math, or engineering, arts, and math. So quite a few people actually made that connection as well. And then finally, there were also a large number of people who also mentioned a desire to have a more well-rounded education. And when they expanded on what it meant to have a well-rounded education, there was a little bit of deviation in what we typically think of in the education space as well-rounded, which would be, you know, having access to extracurriculars and arts, and which is, I think, something that your community does also value. But they really did go deeper into those SEL skills: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and then decision-making. So that is all that I provided here about the vision. But again, that additional, like, you have access to all of the raw feedback. You can read every single one of the comments that people wrote, and see the just the kind of the full gamut of what the community had to say on that raw in that raw feedback. Before I move on to values, do any board members have questions about vision?
No, we can keep moving.
Okay. So when we move on to values, these are really, so we asked the question in a way that we've done this many, many times in a lot of different cities. And one of the things that we've learned is that the way that you ask the question matters. And so the way that we ask this question is a little bit unorthodox. We ask, what should Atlanta Public Schools stop doing or avoid doing as we pursue our student outcome goals? The reason that we ask the question in this way, it really does, it gathers feedback from the community in a way that genuinely does reveal what value it is that they want to have protected. And so in your, there were some very clear themes that came up across the board. 51.11% of your respondents really were focused on students receiving additional social and emotional supports outside of the classroom, so that they can also be successful in the classroom. So people making that connection between having the support outside of the classroom and success in the classroom. Which was, I think that for me, this is the first time that I have that I have taken a board through this process and where this has come up as the number one thing, which I think is not surprising to me. But I think that it is noteworthy. The next thing, 48.33% of respondents believe that students in underperforming campuses should have access to high impact interventions and high quality instruction and resources. So right now you have a guardrail that is focused on high impact interventions. But I added this additional piece because almost all of those specific pieces of feedback were also accompanied by some kind of note about like what those high impact interventions might look like. And they were almost unanimously connected to some kind of instructional, like research-based instructional practices, high quality or highly effective teachers, high quality instructional materials. And so again, that's noteworthy that your community was able to make that connection. There was also 43.89% of people valuing psychological safety and belonging for students and staff. And then a little bit, just over 41.67% who had something to say about resource allocation. And this goes back to the equity conversation we were having earlier. They believe that both the academic resources and financial resources should be allocated based on need rather than like an even distribution or based on the wealth of an individual community. And then I've also provided some examples of things that the actual statements that people in your community had to say. And I'm not going to read through those, but I'm happy to answer any questions about them. And with that, that is the end of my presentation for you all. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for your time, your dedication, and your analysis. I'm looking at my colleagues. They are honestly digesting. So we may need the opportunity to follow up with you with questions because we've seen a lot. We've absorbed a lot, and I think we may need time to digest and may have some questions. I don't think. Oh, we have one question, Dr.
Okay.
Zeff.
Thank you, Ashley. Just as I look over the data, and I think you said this at the outset, post-secondary preparation, numeracy, literacy, these were the three that rose to the top, and it's the way the data was presented. So where the conversation across education is and where the research is, and so not surprising. Is there anything? So, and maybe this is what's coming next. How does this inform? So these were the three that the district has been focused on. So now that we've gone through this process, how does what we've learned inform what our new targets are, our new goals are?
Alley-oop for you.
No, that's a great question. So there are two pieces of data that the board should consider when setting your goals. And so the first piece of data, and this is not in any order, they're both equally valuable. So the first piece of data is this feedback from the community. You need to have a clear understanding of what the broader Atlanta community's vision is for how student outcomes should be improved, or for which student outcomes should be improved across the school system. And then also their values that should be protected. Now, this is important because the school board, the whole reason school boards exist is to represent the vision and values of the community. It's just not practical for the community to govern a school system. So they elect representatives to go and do that for them. But so if you're going to do that effectively, you need to actually know like what that vision and value, what those vision and values are, so that you know what it is that you need to represent. That is just one piece of the data. The other piece of the data that you need is actual student performance data. You need to know how students are performing in APS today, and relative to that information, which of the student outcomes that are available that you can focus on are going to be the highest levers, the highest leverage for if you focus the majority of your resources in those areas, it's going to cause the greatest impact for your school system. And so you're in a great situation here because even though I haven't seen your student performance data or the most recent iteration of your student needs assessment for the district, I assume that it's not going to look too much different from what the community's vision is. So having that just confirmation of alignment is a great thing. And at that point, you really can set your goals very easily. And that's just by identifying what's our literacy goal going to be, what's our math goal going to be, what's our post-secondary goal going to be. And if you wanted to do a fourth goal around social or SEL, how can we set that goal that's going to be that high lever, that high lever, high impact? Inside of these themes, what the student performance data can tell you is which student groups are going to be the highest leverage for you to focus on. Is it all students? Is it third grade students? Is it some combination of students? Or is it very specific? In a lot of districts, they do that needs analysis, and they're able to drill down and understand that if we focus on students who are in the lowest tertile or quartile of performance, then that's going to actually that if we focus there, then the rising tide will lift all boats, so to speak. Other districts are able to pinpoint it down to specific student demographic groups. A lot of times that may look like focusing on students who are living in abject poverty, or who are more generally receiving free and reduced lunch. Students who receive special education services on 504 and IEPs. The way that is going to look really does depend on what the conditions are for your district. That's why it's so important to get that comprehensive student needs assessment and root cause analysis.
So if I can add a little APS to it, really, so the next steps, like she said, would be looking at what is true for our students right now. We've identified where we want them to go, and we would have to develop goals in terms of realistically, where do we think we can get in 5 years, and what are the levers we can pull that's going to get us the furthest, right? So we have part of the information that we need to move to the next step. That next step would happen in a retreat, which our board leadership is working on bringing us together with administration. The way it has been done in the past is board members ideated on their own in terms of what did that goal look like. I remember Erica and I really having fun writing SMART goals, I use fun loosely, it was a bit of a challenge. But it's a goal that we have to come up with, but not absent from information. And if I could borrow some words from Katie, because she says them all the time, right now our goals, they're pretty broad, right? It's like everybody. And so what I would love to challenge us to do is to look deeper and see are there some better levers that we can pull, or ways that we can slice and dice and look at this information that will get us from where we are to where we want to be. So we've been given a lot. This is like a smorgasbord of information that we definitely need to take some time to digest. I will say that I found it useful reading the direct responses. Even though Ashley has given us a nice summary, it was useful just to read through the chart. And so I'm going to make sure that everybody has that information so they can use that to digest. But long story short, the next step would be us taking this from here to actionable, smart goals. Of course, with the help of our administration. And y'all, everyone, and so that date hasn't been firmed. I would imagine that before we go into that retreat, that there will be some homework, like some things to digest and think about, so that when we do come together, we could be impactful with the amount of time that we have together. Okay, anything else that needs to be added, Ashley?
That's all I've got. I just want to say thank you all for your work and your energy in engaging your community in such a thoughtful way. And I look forward to watching the continued work that you all do.
Oh, and thank you for your guidance and holding us accountable in our weekly Wednesday calls.
Thank you. Y'all take care.
Okay, so we are a little behind, but the good news is the next one is going to go quick. So the next item is the Board Development Committee Policy Update. I just want to report back that the Policy Committee did review the policy. They did have some questions around how the chair was elected. They had some questions around, honestly, whether or not this even needed to be a formal committee. There was a little pushback in terms of, do you think we need development? And I gave an astounding yes. And all of us need it. None of us are perfect, and we could all be better. So I'm still standing behind this. This will go to first read for the April meeting, I believe, and then there will be discussion. It will go back in front of policy, and then we'll come back in May, hopefully with us official. Whether we're official or adjunct official, we'll figure that out.
And I just want to make a note, Madam Chair. The policy that is loaded into Assembly, titled Board Development Policy Revised 12.3, I think at the last policy meeting, there were a couple of additional revisions that are not reflected in what's in Assembly. So I'll just work with Erica Long to make sure that those revisions have been made and updated.
So what will happen is you will replace the current document with the updated document?
Correct.
And will there be a notice or anything sent out once that change is made?
This is just an error, and it's just an error in upload, so we can correct that.
Okay, so I hope y'all heard that there's going to be an updated version coming soon that will reflect the most recent changes that were added. Moving on. Board self-evaluation discussion. Woohoo! So I'm excited because just as we talked about, there's opportunity for growth. And in order for us to identify those opportunities for growth, we need to understand where we are realistically, and then put together, a plan to get better. So I have shared a few different evaluation tools with the committee. And board member Jessica Johnson has volunteered to take the lead on this and reviewing and to come to us with some thoughts for discussion. So just so you know, we've got a soft G evaluation, we've got a GSBA evaluation, and then we've got something that we have used in the past. But the intent of this is for us, again, to understand where we are in our board governance, where are there opportunities for growth and development, and then putting a plan together to do it. Jessica.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity to lean in this specific area. And so I will start with the evaluation that we used most recently, and by recently, I would say it's been about a year. I guess about a year since the last time we completed the SOFG evaluation. And so we'll start with that one. It is, of course, incredibly thorough with calculations, and there's a kind of a scale for us to determine where we think we are in on the pipeline towards in the following areas: values and guardrails, visions and goals, monitoring and accountability, communication and collaboration, unity and trust, and continuous improvement. My first gut reaction, and if we just want to talk about them one at a time, is that because we're knee deep in the middle of the strategic planning process, this is a great evaluation, but we might want to actually kind of get through that process and then use this as a follow-up to see where we are after the strategic plan. And I would welcome you guys' thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like the SOFG is like the 400 level class, and like we might need the 100 level class. And I think the GSBA one, and it doesn't have to be in that form, but something that even just talks more tactically about how we work together as a board. Some of the, we've had the board, and the board continues to have new members and churn, and that's just part of the process. So I think some of that interaction of some of the basics, like are we doing those things before we're ready to really dive into, and that I think you're right, with the moving target that the strategic plan hasn't been set yet, it would be, that transition might just might show up in the survey, and that's not helpful. Let's wait till we get to the finish.
I love the way you put that, the 400 and 100. We in the freshman level courses, but a desire to grow and go to a higher level. Tolton and Katie, I know you guys are not formally on the committee, but any feedback, input?
I agree with my colleagues. Oh, yeah, we don't need two on. Jen and Spirit. Yeah, I mean, we have used this tool, and to be quite honest, I don't think we got what we needed out of it because we have a lot of foundational work to do and alignment. And, the practice and consistency is important. So thank you, Jessica, for, supporting us getting back to that place. We do it on a regular basis, but we do it in a way that's obviously meaningful, but it's connected to the work we're doing right now. Going back to what you're saying, Ken, about just working together as a unit. We need instructions on that too. This is an example of how we do it, but just like the practice of that, especially around things like resetting our goals. So that's my feedback right now.
Thank you.
So it sounds like there is a consensus for the 100 level course right now. But a desire to get to the 400 level course.
Right.
As well as, I'm going to talk a little bit, and hopefully this isn't timing wise. We had toyed around, I say we, I was talking with our executive director. We had toyed around with, if we do this quarterly, and we're true to accountability and transparency, we can do the evaluation. We talk about the evaluation as a full board, identify some targets on where we can be for the next quarter, and then as well as then go out and share with the community, right? Like this could all align with community engagement. And then the next quarter, let's look to see where we were, where are we now? And so it's almost aligned with the monitoring that we would be doing for the superintendent. We could do it for ourselves. Ooh. So like I said, it does sound like a consensus around the 400 level, the 100 level evaluation. And just for board members, what you're looking at, one of the ones you're looking at is the one you're looking at now, Ken. So it's SOFG adopted. So that's the one that Pierre would send out. He would send this out quarterly. It was a Google document that you filled out, And he also sent supporting documents that showed what the attendance was at all the events for that particular quarter. He gave the Let's Talk report in terms of how timely were we in getting back. So this is almost a hybrid version of what was done. I want to say this was pulled, it might have been the end of 2023 that I pulled this from.
There was one that
The
had
GSBA one, for
scaling.
some reason, is not printed out, but it was in your emails.
Right. Yeah, so that one, and I can just speak to it. The GSBA version is actually the one I would recommend that we move forward with at this time. For one reason, the evaluation itself is aligned with our state standards for like excellent board service and work, and I think that if that is the direction that we are living in and moving in, and I think it would be really helpful for us to focus in the specific categories that they had, which include strategic planning, and we can kind of just gut check ourselves if where we are in the pipeline now, but it includes some self-assessment opportunities, where we are with training, board norms and protocols, and there was a lot of learnings around like how often you should set those, and just for us to build some consistency in some of those areas, the ethics and accreditation, fiscal responsibility, which is definitely incredibly important, and then just recognition, consideration, or I don't know what this one is. Well, the last one there. But what I liked most about this is that after the evaluation, there was a section that included action plans. And so I think evaluations are worthless without follow-up steps for us to really work towards being in a better position for the next evaluation. And so I really do value that opportunity to kind of examine where we are now, but set some benchmarks of where we want to be in the near future. So I would recommend that one highly. I did find value in some of the school board partners' kind of individual assessments around like where are you personally as a leader. And so I'm not sure if there are any ways to maybe pull some questions from this one and add it overall so that we can just kind of see where our colleagues are on the spectrum, and then add that to our follow-up conversation.
Yeah, I definitely I added this based on Ken's feedback about it would be nice for people to have some self-awareness and a self-assessment. And our coach Ashley suggested this tool, and I would love to see how we can incorporate some of this, probably not all of it, but how we can incorporate some of this in here. So again, maybe we can, in addition to setting board goals, we can encourage ourselves to set some individual goals as well.
I'm a big believer in the self-evaluation, because then as you track it over time, some of these are about attendance, about commitment, about taking on leadership roles. I think all of those things are useful to track.
So then I guess my question is, can we create a hybrid, and I'm happy to go through and make recommendations on which questions from GSBA and this one that we can pull, and then schedule, I don't know when is the appropriate time for us to have this sent out to the board. I like what you added, Areta, earlier about having supporting documentation, because some pieces the full board may not be aware of depending on when people were onboarded in the process. And so we might have documents that other people aren't aware exist and might be scoring lower, but if we could have just like a resource file of what exists and what's available for the full board while we're doing this process, that should be helpful. Adding in the layers of the individual, and then scheduling some designated time for us to internally talk about the results before we share them out publicly.
I love the idea, and I am a fan of doing things right versus doing them fast. To me, I would love next steps for you to come back with a recommendation of what this should look like in terms of that combination. What does that hybrid evaluation look like? As a board development committee, we can review and make any necessary changes, and then present it to the full board and do our schedule accordingly as we figure that out. I see some head nods. I don't think we need a vote, just a consensus. This was a great conversation. I'm excited that we're having this conversation and that we're going to end up with something that is going to help us be better. Ultimately, that's what it's about. I say continuous improvement. Is it continuous or continual? You know, I like math. So, Cynthia, which one is it? Is it continuous or continual improvement? That's what we want.
Continual is what we want.
Okay, that's what we want. Thank you. So that segues very nicely into the next topic, which is the GSBA board recognition. So this is something that GSBA does. That's the one we scratched. Oh, no. I'm looking at the wrong one. Scratch. Sorry, training hours update. I'm gonna use Ken's agenda. So everyone should have the training card in front of you. This is gonna be quick. The good news is we're doing great with our training hours. Tolton, you're new, so you get a little pass, but we're about to get you trained up. So one of the requirements for the board recognition is that all board members do meet their training requirements and that it be done by June 30th. So the goal for you being your first year is going to be 15 hours. For everyone else, for veteran board members, the goal is 9. And so right now, we have 7 out of 9 board members that have completed and exceeded their training hours. So we are in a good space. And we're going to send some opportunities your way, so it won't be too hard for you to get trained up, okay? All right. Now I'm moving on. You got 20? You didn't have 15? He's on his first year? All right, we're going to review and make sure that everybody is aligned. Oh, yeah. Okay, so moving on next is the GSB board recognition criteria. Our chair has shared that she didn't like the way it felt when she was taking pictures of all the other boards getting their board awards. And so there's a desire for us to apply. So this is something you have to apply for. It's not just given to you. You apply and you also present the receipts. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that the Board Development Committee is aware of what is the criteria, what are the different levels of recognition, and then we're going to look to see what we need to do. Maybe we can set a goal. This is what I like. I would like everyone to review this and then come back next month with realistically, do you think, one, we can meet these goals, and which of these goals we can meet? And then we're going to put a plan together to get there. That is if you guys, and this is, let me be clear, this is not about getting an award. I mean, an award is great. This is actually about it's about doing the work, right? Because if you do the work, then everybody benefits, and then the award will just be the cherry on top, right? So ultimately, I don't want to get it confused that we're doing this just for sheer recognition. We're doing it for the benefit of being a quality board. So if y'all are aligned, maybe I'll wait. I'll let you read it first. So these applications, the applications open up March 28th, and they don't close until July 25th. So we clearly won't this year. That's what it says. It will close on Friday. Oh, okay. So what we need to do first is review it. See, is there potential and possibility? And then are we committed to doing what is necessary to make it happen? I believe this is something that it's not that hard or high of a stretch. I've read through it briefly. It's something that will definitely need the support of our board office in completing and getting done, as well as buy-in from this committee, because I believe this is where it will come from. So I'm not going to ask for any commitments now, but I am going to ask that you review this, and this is very much aligned with their board review and assessment. Questions, comments, concerns? Is there any other business? Ooh, we're going to get out of here early. Ms. Harrison, is there any public comment?
No, Madam Chair, we have no public comment.
You mean they're not lined up
They're
around the
not lined
block?
up. Not today.
Not
I'm sorry.
today, maybe next month. Well, if all hearts and minds are clear, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Board Member Johnson and Board Member Zeff. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. You guys have a great evening.